I am Isabelle Guérin. I am a senior research fellow at the National Research Institute of Sustainable Development based in France. Let me share with you a few thoughts about the economy as a constellation of interpersonal relations. The economy is usually considered only as a material process, whether it is production, consumption, or finance. Of course, the economy produces and exchanges material goods, services, and money. But both production and exchange are only possible through a constellation of social relations. In developing economy, social relations are even more important, and this for three reasons. First, developing economies are largely informal economies. By this I mean that they are outside the regulation and control of the state. There is no real contract or judicial body to settle disputes in case of disagreement. Social relations are therefore essential to ensure that commitments are respected. Would you agree to hire someone or lend them money if there is no contract and no rule of law? Only if you know the person or if this person is recommended by someone whom you know and whom you trust. Interpersonal knowledge and social interactions create the trust that is necessary to engage in economic transactions. Second, developing economies have little or no state social protection. Social protection is largely provided by social relations. In the event of a shock, illness, death, job loss, it is the people around you who provide this protection, whether it be relatives, friends, the church, a boss, and so forth. Third, social relations are also sought for themselves because they give meaning to economic practices. All people, whoever they are, engage in economic practices not only to make a living or to make money, but also to give meaning to their lives. People engage into economic transactions because they consider the underlying social relation as fulfilling. On the contrary, people may refuse economic transaction because they consider the underlying social relation as oppressive or hierarchical. Let me give you a few examples from the field of finance. Why does the development of financial markets, and especially of credit, not eradicate informal credit? Informal credit is much more than just an exchange of money. The person who lends you money is sometimes an employer. The debt will serve somehow as a contract. As long as the debt is not repaid, you have a job. The person who lends you money might be someone who helps you access information. Or it might be a person who will agree to negotiate repayment terms, which is crucial since income is often irregular and unpredictable. Informal credit, interwoven with interpersonal relationships, is much better suited to uncertain and unpredictable informal economies. Why do we observe that saving services perform poorly in a number of contexts? Very simply because they cut users off from their social relations. Why should we tie up money in a bank account when this money can circulate within your social network and thus maintain or even strengthen your social network? In a number of contexts, saving mobilization by banks gives disappointing results because people prefer to protect themselves by investing in their social network, either through gift that will be reciprocated later or through lending to others. This may also explain the persistence or even the strengthening of social rituals, which economic role can be crucial. The central question is, what is the nature of these social relations? They are neither good nor bad in themselves. They may involve solidarity, equality, or hierarchy. Informal lending may come from your neighbor, with whom you have reciprocal relationships. It may also come from your boss, who will force you to work for him or her for free until you have paid back the debt. What are the consequences in the event of a crisis, such as the current one? The key question to be asked is, how does a crisis impact social relations? Do we observe a withdrawal from others, a strengthening of self-help and relations of solidarity, or a strengthening of relations of hierarchy? When there is a real scarcity, usually only the rich, big landowners, local bosses and gangs, political parties, and so forth, might be the only one to be in a position to help. In present day, considering the economy as a constellation of social relations has two major implications. First, we should not only look at what people lose in terms of income and material wealth, but we should also look at what they lose in terms of social relations, which are in fact a key aspect of their wealth. And second, a better understanding of the social structure of the economy should help us identify possible means to make the economy more inclusive and more just. Thank you.